Look, it's a toad. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hunter Houck, and in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question, do American toads make good pets? Now, when we talk about American toads, I'm talking about the Anaxyrus or Anaxyrus genus. Some people pronounce it either way, so I'm just going to say Anaxyrus because that's what I've heard a couple of biologists say. We're talking about that whole genus. So I have here Persephone, my Woodhouse's toad. So this is Anaxyrus woodhousei. There's also Anaxyrus americanus, which is the American toad, Anaxyrus fowleri, which is the Fowler's toad, and there are a few other species. So we're just talking about North American toads because their care is all very, very similar, if not completely the same. So the first thing, this huge disclaimer, this isn't a care guide. This is just talking about this is talking about are they the right pet for you, and then if you decide they are, then do a lot of research about them, because even though they're a relatively inexpensive pet, they still require lots of care, so that's super important. Okay, she didn't want to be on the paper towel and she wants to be on my hand, and my hand is damp. You should never hold your toad or any amphibian for that matter with a dry hand, because the oils in your skin are actually very bad for their skin. So that's why you hold them with a damp hand. So I sprayed my hand down with dechlorinated water. It has to be dechlorinated because chlorine will make them die, and that's not good. The first factor we're going to talk about is cost, because some reptiles and amphibians are quite expensive, but honestly, I almost said Woodhouse's toads, but we're talking about the whole genus. Honestly, North American toads aren't that expensive to care for. So their enclosure, that's going to be a large cost, but we're going to talk about that later in the enclosure topic. But right now, I'm just going to go over their routine maintenance. So their food, they're not gonna eat a ton. So she is actually a stunted Woodhouse's toad. If you want to hear her story, I'll link that video at the end of this video. But she is very stunted due to some health issues that she had when she was living in the wild. So she's finally gotten over that, and she's healthy now, and she's a healthy weight, but she won't actually get to her full size potential. But your average North American toad is going to get pretty big and will have to live in a 20 to 30 gallon enclosure. She lives in a converted 10 gallon, which is actually right here. The light's not on because it's like 10 p.m. Yeah, she stays small, but most of them are going to get pretty big. So that's something that you'll have to think about. Since she's small, she doesn't require a ton of insects. She eats about twice a week, and let me see here, she probably eats 20 or 30 insects a week, and those are small insects. So I feed her small, actually like extra small dubia roaches and medium-sized mealworms. I try to add a variety in her diet, but those are the only two insects that she... Oh my gosh, Persephone. I try to add some variety into her diet, but those are the only two insects that she will actually eat. She's so cute, so I keep getting sidetracked. I'm gonna pop some B-roll over this footage because I know you don't want to sit here and listen to me talk the whole time. So, recurring costs. Obviously, you should have some money set aside for going to the vet, because vets can be kind of expensive. I have some money in my bank account just set aside for that particular purpose, and if you're going to have reptiles and amphibians, or any pet for that matter, you should too, because at some point you're going to have to take them to the vet. That's not really a recurring cost, because that usually, for a healthy toad, you're not going to have to take them to the vet very often at all. So the only recurring cost that I really have with her is her food. and plants because she likes to destroy her plants, and I have live plants in her terrarium. She has a bioactive terrarium, so if you want to see a video all about that, comment down below because I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and if you would enjoy seeing that video. Next, we're going to talk about handling, because why would you want an amphibian if you can't handle them? That was a joke, by the way. Amphibians aren't great animals if you want to have something that you're going to be able to handle all the time. I handle her maybe once a week, and usually I try to keep that to around 5 minutes. This will be closer to 20 minutes, and that's because she's very tolerant to handling and because she's healthy and everything like that, but normally I try to keep it short and sweet. These aren't a good animal if you want to handle something on a regular basis, in my opinion. Next up, we're going to be talking about ease of care. So, they are pretty easy to care for. They only need to be fed every 3 to 4 days. She is getting a little chunky actually, so I've cut that to every 4 days, but normally I would be feeding her every 3 days, and that's what I would recommend for a healthy North American toad. Other than that, you will have to mist their enclosures occasionally, often. So this isn't a care guide, but you basically want it so that there's some condensation on the walls. If you want me to make a care guide where I talk about the exact humidity percentages and stuff, I'd be happy to do that. Overall, I would say that they are pretty easy to care for, but they are more high maintenance than some other amphibians. Next up, we're going to talk about availability. So, yes, I'm kind of copying these categories from someone else here on YouTube. Don't at me. I'm going to put her back because she's getting a little bit irritated at me. Okay, availability. They are not readily available, and I say that because it's very rare that you'll find a captive-bred North American toad. So, especially Woodhouse's toads and Fowler's toads, those are just something that you're really not going to find captive-bred, so you will have to find those wild-caught. Now, I don't support purchasing wild-caught animals. I do have a wild-caught toad here, and if you want to hear my reasonings for that, again, watch the video that I'll link at the end of this video. You shouldn't take a perfectly healthy Woodhouse's toad, or any other North American toad for that matter, out of the wild. Their populations, I believe their population is steady, but still it's just not something good because wild-caught animals aren't very sustainable. You can occasionally find captive-bred American toads, Anaxyrus americanus. Also, you'll sometimes hear those called Bufo americanus, but they have been reclassified to Anaxyrus now. Taxonomy is fun. Now, overall, are they a good pet for you? For me, that answer is yes. I am perfectly capable, and I really enjoy taking care of a North American toad, but for you, is that a yes or a no? I can't say it will be yes for you or no for you because I don't know exactly your circumstances, but I'd say if you can dedicate a couple hours a week to this toad because they don't take a ton of time to care for, and maybe $100 a year. Oh, my leopard gecko is drinking water right now behind you, and it's adorable. Sorry about that. But I'd say maybe $80 to $100 a year if you can commit that, and also just your research. You have to research them because that's so important. Seriously, do tons and tons and tons and tons of research. Because if you don't properly research an animal, something's gonna come up and you're gonna be like, oh crap, I probably shouldn't have gotten this animal. So, do your research. It's seriously so important. And honestly, with North American toads, there's not a ton of information available about their care. Oh, I forgot to mention, you have to buy them supplements too. Calcium and what's the other one? Multivitamin. You have to have that, so that's another added expense, but that's maybe $20 a year, so it's not that big of a deal. If you think that this would be a pet that you would enjoy and you would be able to care for, then go for it, as long as you've done all your research and you can find one from a sustainable source. But if you don't think it's the right animal for you, then it's probably not, and you should keep doing your research to find something that would better suit you. You guys, we are so close to 600 subscribers, which is kind of crazy for me, because like that's a pretty big number, honestly, and we're getting closer to 900 on Instagram. So if you would please hit the subscribe button down below, I think it's on that side, I'm not sure though. That would seriously mean a lot to me. And also, if you would go follow me on Instagram at HunterHouckOfficial, because that's where I share pictures every single day of my reptiles and amphibian. If you guys have any questions, please be sure to drop them in the comments. I reply to every single question that you guys have, or send me a DM on Instagram. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, and if you found it helpful, hit the thumbs up. I will see you guys in the next video.
Missing someone